Hello again. America's National Security Agency was closely involved in interrogations at the notorious Guantanamo Bay prison in Cuba. The revelation has come to light from documents leaked by NSA whistleblower Edward Snowden. In one report, the NSA describes working for the facility, which is synonymous with torture claims, as, quote, a fulfilling and interesting experience.
An early start can have you climbing John Paul Jones Hill while taking in a beautiful sunrise over the Caribbean Sea. The work can be extremely interesting, challenging and very fulfilling. Outside work, fun awaits and opportunities abound. Water sports are outstanding. Boating, paddling, fishing, water skiing and boarding, sailing, swimming, snorkeling and scuba. Water sports not your cup of tea? The library has 24 internet terminals and over 1,000 videos. Or just relax and take in the warmth of the sun.
Yeah, indeed, the off-base activities described by the NSA may sound more like an advert for a summer holiday, but it's been no vacation for the prisoners at the facility. According to Human Rights Watch, the detainees have endured prolonged mistreatment, including sleep and food deprivation and exposure to extreme temperatures. RT's Caleb Maupin is across the story for us.
In these facilities, people were routinely forced to sit in their own excrement. There was sexual humiliation by female guards that went on. People were handcuffed and forced into stressful positions. People were deprived of food and water for many days. These were very harsh interrogation techniques that have been widely described around the world as torture. But if you're an NSA person, you can participate in these interrogations, and then afterwards you can go water skiing, or you can go boating, or you can just relax and enjoy life in a tropical paradise while subjecting people to widely decried and very inhumane treatments. Another memo was leaked showing an advertising kind of asking members of the NSA to go to Iraq, and that revelation was very interesting. It described going to Iraq to participate in interrogations as a unique opportunity. Those were the words used, unique opportunity to go to Iraq. And not only were NSA members participating in these very harsh interrogations, it turns out they were also searching for these weapons of mass destruction that never seemed to turn up.
Anima Sean, a former MI5 intelligence officer, believes the way the NSA advertised working at Guantanamo to its own staff was repulsive.
That it was being mooted that way on the inside with the intelligence agencies it shows a sort of an alarming lack of moral compass, shall we say. In terms of their involvement in this sort of work, though, it doesn't surprise me, because we've seen time and time again, across Europe primarily, how other intelligence agencies have been co-opted to be involved in extraordinary rendition cases, to be involved in interrogations, to be involved in torture cases. So the fact that the Americans were co-opting their own NSA is no surprise. It's good to have the proof of what many of us already suspected, though.
The Turkish parliament has approved a controversial law to strip a third of MPs of their parliamentary immunity. Before its adoption, the divisive bill brought out the worst in some lawmakers. Well, now that the law has been approved, it paves the way for the prosecution of more than 100 opposition politicians. The government says it will prosecute MPs that support Kurdish militants, whom Ankara considers to be terrorists. Erdogan claims the bill has nationwide support.
Today, thank God, 376 voted in favour. Therefore, there's no need to go to a referendum. Now, of course, this has shortened the process. But if we would need to go to a referendum, you know what would happen. The nation would give them a lesson with at least 70 to 80% of votes.
Kurdish MPs fear the proposal targets them, as Erdogan has accused their party of supporting terrorists. The Turkish president also branded Kurdish calls for autonomy as treason. saying that the leaders of the Kurdish HDP party should be held accountable for what he called a constitutional crime. We spoke to a Kurdish MP. He told us Erdogan's proposal specifically targets the opposition.
The reason is Tayyip Erdogan's insistence on imposing Turkish parliament and Turkish public his demand for an authoritarian and totalitarian rule over which the HDP opposition in the parliament is one of the major obstacles, because with the HDP in the parliament, the president and his party is blocked from gaining the constitutional majority. Therefore, HDP, Tayyip Erdogan, believes is the major obstacle on his way to ultimate power.
The U.S. military's top general says an agreement could soon be reached to deploy American troops in Libya to help fight Islamic State. That's after Washington and some of its allies promised to arm Libya's internationally recognized government.
The international community will support the Presidency Council as it seeks exemption from the UN arms embargo to acquire those weapons and bullets needed to fight Daesh and other terrorist groups.
Well, Russia says any move to send weapons to Libya will require the approval of the UN Security Council. An arms embargo was placed on the country after the NATO-backed toppling of Colonel Gaddafi in 2011. Ever since the revolution, Libya has been torn by civil strife. A rival government has forced the internationally recognized leaders out of the capital, Tripoli. Islamic State has capitalized on the chaos and is now in control of territory along the country's north coast, just across the sea from Europe.
What we have to recognise, first of all, is that there's a degree of chaos in Libya. There are alliances which are shifting, which are in a state of flux, and which you can't predict probably more than a couple of months ahead. It makes no sense to be pouring arms into troubled Libyan waters, because all we're going to do effectively is give one side the encouragement to attack the other side, to create more refugees and more problems for Libya and the wider region. When a side has weapons, it will use those weapons against all its enemies as convenience. It's not going to have a glass ceiling between one set of enemies and the other.
The terrorist insurgency isn't the only thing worrying Libya's government. It's also desperate for cash and has now hired a pair of safecrackers to open a vault full of precious coins. But things could get tricky if they do manage to tap into the trove.
I will have only 2 words to say to you. Talk or die.
That's 3 words.
Huh?
Next, here on RT International, China's struggle against internet addiction among children. And for our viewers in the UK and Ireland, the story of an Egyptian town which is home to a large community of rubbish collectors who gather and sort the capital's waste.